Hi friends, this is what I often hear. We adults actually still need milk to have strong bones. And the US Dietary Guidelines 2025 say yes. But many scientists, doctors, and nutrition bodies say the advice is deeply flawed. And if you're an Asian, this matters even more. First, credit where it is due. The Dietary Guidelines for the Americans 2025 to 2030, jointly issued by the US Department of Health and Human Services and the US Department of Agriculture, finally take ultra-processed foods seriously. They strongly recommend real whole foods, fewer refined carbs and added sugars, and more vegetables, fruits, and home-prepared meals. On that, I absolutely agree. But the controversy starts when we get to dairy. The guidelines recommend full-fat dairy, 3 servings per day, milk, cheese, and yogurt described as excellent sources of protein, fats, vitamins, minerals, and calcium. This advice appears repeatedly across multiple life stages, including children, adolescents, and adults. And this is where criticism erupts. The criticism has come from Harvard School of Public Health, the American Heart Association, and several very reputable advisory groups, including PCRM and CSPI, and multiple independent researchers. Their concerns fall into 4 clear buckets. First, saturated fat contradiction. The guidelines kept saturated fat at less than 10% of calories, yet promote full-fat dairy and butter. They simultaneously encourage full-fat dairy and mention butter and beef tallow as acceptable whole-fat sources, creating a tension noted by HSPH authors who stated the advice would be difficult to stay under 10% with this emphasis. And the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics has also publicly stated this is internally inconsistent and confusing for cardiovascular health advice. The second concern is the weak independent evidence. Much of the 3 servings of dairy per day recommendation is supported by industry-funded studies. Independent, long-term data do not consistently show protection from fractures, heart disease, or mortality. Third is industry influence. Several advisory members have documented ties to organizations like the National Dairy Council and the Global Dairy Platform. The Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine has publicly criticized and is challenging these guidelines for industry influence and health risks. The fourth is population blindness. The guidelines assume dairy benefits apply universally. They do not, in fact. In my book, Wisdom from Two Worlds, I devote an entire chapter to milk. Let me summarize the core points simply. Milk is food for growing, designed for babies. In the wild, mammals, and yes, humans, are one of them. We stop drinking milk after weaning because we stop producing lactase, the enzyme needed to digest lactose. Over 2/3 of the world's adults, especially Asians, are in fact lactose intolerant. The key findings I review in the chapter are large studies from Sweden found high milk intake is linked to higher fracture rates, not lower fracture rates. Many of the highest dairy-consuming countries also have the highest hip fracture rates. Milk increases IGF-1, a hormone linked in studies to higher risks of serious disease, including certain cancers. And D-galactose, a sugar in milk, is used in research labs to accelerate the aging process of animals. And critically, there is no essential nutrient in milk that cannot be obtained safely and effectively from other non-dairy foods. Does the guidelines claim milk is essential for calcium? Yes. Is that true? No. Yes, the guidelines repeatedly frame milk as a key calcium source, but large, Meta-analysis show increasing calcium intake does not reliably reduce fracture risk. Calcium supplements may increase heart attack and kidney stones risk. Most osteoporosis patients are not calcium deficient. What actually builds bone then? Resistance training, muscle loading, adequate vitamin D, hormonal balance, plant foods like leafy greens, legumes, tofu, nuts, seeds, and fortified plant milks provide calcium with fewer biological trade-offs. Why this matters even more for Asians. For most Asians, lactose intolerance is common. Risk of bone fracture is not consistently reduced with dairy intake. Fracture risk is driven more by muscle loss, inactivity, and vitamin D deficiency. Applying Western dairy-heavy guidelines to Asian population is not evidence-based at all. So here is my position. The new US Dietary Guidelines do many things right, but their strong emphasis on dairy is scientifically contentious, population blind, and seem outdated. Instead, I recommend plant-based proteins from legumes, soy, nuts, and seeds, monounsaturated fats from olive oil, avocado, and nuts, vegetables as the foundation of every meal. In fact, strength training is one of the most powerful bone-building tools we have. So friends, if this video helped you think more clearly about dairy, watch it again, share it with a friend, and stay curious. Nutrition is not about tradition, it's about evidence. I'm Dr. Kiat. Let's go heart to heart.